It's been a long time since I've spoken to you. Not because I've had nothing to say, but because I didn't know how to say it. When I feel like I'm hanging on for dear life, when chaos is everywhere and I feel everything slipping away, I get quiet. That ends today. We've been living off-grid in the Missouri Ozarks for the last 3 years, and a lot has happened, so let's start at the beginning.
Okay, wait now. Okay, now you can sign. Don't.
Now it's your turn to sign.
Crazy. That was simple.
That may have been the last simple thing. The truth is, if you do this, there will be 1,000 reasons to quit. So you better find at least one reason big enough to keep going.
When the prophecy came, yeah, it was weird because we hadn't been down here for very long, yet it had already started to feel normal. And the guy showed up, having driven from Minnesota, and he thought he was in like a foreign land. He kept talking about how different everything was. All of a sudden, to see this truck show up with our stuff that was out of place. It was so out of place. It felt so weird because we'd created this different life here, and all of a sudden stuff from this other life showed up. But at the same time, it just made everything real because that was it. That was the beginning. We didn't have any idea whether or not the road out front was busy or not. And the guy pulled in and got stuck. And stuck across, blocking the entire road. And I kind of panicked because I kept thinking people are gonna come and freak out, and this is gonna be a big problem because the semi truck is blocking the entire road. And sure enough, a car pulled up and stopped, and people just waved and patiently waited for, I don't know if it took 20 minutes or something to get him out at least. And they didn't care, not a care in the world. They just waited patiently. I think the guy maybe even asked if you needed help. I don't remember for sure, but it was funny because a very different experience than what we would have had back home than here. That was, I think, our first clue how different life was going to be here from what we had left behind. I don't think the guy had hardly even pulled away and you were hopping in the posi track to go work. We had this much space cleared. We could pull the truck in. The semi maybe would have been able to pull in, but we couldn't even get onto the property. We didn't even really know what the property looked like. We had to clear our way in. Uh-oh. And I was just pushing off on that clip, so I don't know if it got on there or not.
Never had that happen before.
Did it just come?
It just popped off.
It just popped off.
Yeah. I was putting a lot of pressure on it. I wasn't putting too much pressure on it, but...
As long as we didn't break anything.
No, I think it just popped off.
Yeah, you bent the metal a little bit.
Augie wants out. No, the metal was already bent a long time ago. I don't know what from. All right, if you guys can help me open these up, we'll get back on it.
Okay, Augie, do you want to stay in there with Daddy? You want out?
Lawrence, can you grab August?
Mom can do it.
Mom
can do it.
Whatever, these oak, they have better roots.
There's a power in recording one's life on camera.
Over there. Hiya!
The power of a concrete certainty to an otherwise ephemeral past. Like an omniscient narrator, I can go back and see what actually happened. As a husband and a father, I spend my life out there in the world, providing for and protecting my family. It's fair to say that like a guard on the city walls, my focus is facing outward. On this day, I was focused on clearing trees and making way for our RV to be relocated here.
Daddy's gonna be happy? He's gonna be surprised. Oh, okay.
And I had no idea that only 100 feet away, my son was cleaning off a piece of equipment for me with a stick because he thought it would please me. I'm in my head a lot, and I have been since I was a little boy. I'm not always emotionally available. Maybe it's the trauma of my past. Maybe I'm afraid that if I let emotions run free, they would overtake me. But seeing my son's desire to please me is like a shock of lightning that strikes me to my core. My eyes water and my heart is filled with a gratitude bigger than any emotion I have ever felt. Here is a little boy that wants nothing more in that moment than to please his father, to make me happy. And it is at this point, under the pressure from the weight of that gratitude, I realize I don't deserve what God has given me. I don't deserve this little boy's admiration. I've done so much to not earn this love and admiration from my family. And yet, through God's grace and mercy, I have them. I am truly blessed.
What fun riding, Mommy.
It's fun riding in the Posse?
Yeah.
Good.
Daddy.
We need to decide where we're gonna build.
Yeah.
So, kind of important. I need to know when to stop making road.
Yeah.
I think we're good to just make it wide enough big enough, wide enough for a semi back to the turnaround. And then if we decide to build further back, it's only got to be wide enough for a pickup truck, which is, well, I mean, this has already been wide enough for pickup. I suppose it's got to be wide enough for pickup plus the RV.
If we go that far back, yeah.
Yeah, if we go further. Anyway.
You want out, buddy?
Yeah.
Okay.
We were down in the RV park in Arkansas. We'd been there for, goodness. Yeah, I think it was 3 months that we'd been at the RV park, and we were feeling cramped. Teeny tiny little lots, no place for the kids to really run around and play. I mean, there were parks nearby, and it was a great experience as far as RV parks go, because we had been to a few before and had a less than pleasant experience at some, because most RV parks are catering to retirees and they don't really want kids around. Yeah, no, this RV park was different than others because Terry was amazing. She was so kind, and we had everything that we needed. We had amazing internet there so that you could work. There were washers and dryers there. I don't even remember if that even cost us money now. It's funny to think about that, because I don't think it did. I think it seemed so comfortable when we first got there, but the minute we closed on the property, we were so anxious just to get out of there and home. We wanted to go home.
How did it feel? Do you remember the day we left?
The day we left the mountain home, yeah. Not rushed, but there was an impetus to get out of there as quickly as we could. Things just felt wrong being in the city, and we needed to get home. So we packed up, and as quick as we could, we hooked up the RV and we headed north. We filled our fresh tank before we left the RV park, and we dumped. And I think we figured that gave us, if we were conservative with everything think we figured we had 4 days before we were going to reach the point where we needed to make some hard decisions on what was happening. So you'd driven up, I think only the day before, with the trailer and a septic tank, and dropped off the trailer with a septic tank tied to it on the property. So at least we had what we needed to get started.
This isn't the right tool for the job. Robert Pirsig wrote a book called Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. In it, he talks about using the right tool for the job, how forcing something to happen more often than not just breaks the thing you're trying to fix. I have followed that maxim since I read it, but I can say with certainty that he had no idea what it takes to cut in on raw land with limited funds and no professional help. Before we came here, my plan was to act as a general contractor and hire out work like this. Need an excavator to do the job? Hire an excavator guy. Then we came here and couldn't find anyone to work. Unreturned phone calls, no-shows on the day someone was supposed to start. It quickly became obvious that if we wanted to get anything done, we were going to have to do it ourselves. At the time, I couldn't find a rental shop. We had to use what we had, even if it wasn't made for the job. A 1994 ASV posi track may not be the right tool, but it sure beats using a shovel and a pickaxe. Buying unimproved forest land in a foreign place and turning it into a homestead or farm isn't for the weak of heart. You'll have no support network. You're going to be challenged. You're going to want to quit. Nothing is going to work, and you're going to have to make it work anyway. If you let it, this life will chew you up and spit you out. Your will versus nature, and nature doesn't care about you or your will. It won't make anything easy for you. If something can go wrong, it will go wrong. It's like a microcosm of a life well lived. Bad things happen, you come through the other side, but you're stronger now. That bad thing isn't scary anymore. It's just a problem that you know how to fix. Rinse and repeat, each challenge becoming less of a challenge, over and over again until you win. Adversity is going to be in your life daily, so you might as well become friends with it. Waking up to "the septic tank is floating around" isn't exactly my idea of a great wake-up call. Where we are from in Minnesota, rain fell down and then straight into the sandy soil. We only got a small amount of rain. How did we end up with 2 feet of water in a hole? We learned quickly that rain runs sideways in these hills. A small amount of rain adds up fast, real fast. Remember how I told you that if you do this, you're going to have 1,000 reasons to quit, so you better have one reason worth the suffering? I'm not sure I had my reason all ironed out before we came here, but by this point, the day of the floating septic tank, I knew exactly my reason why. I was doing this for my family. I may not deserve the family God has blessed me with, but I can spend a lifetime providing, protecting, and leading them. To be an example of an imperfect man striving toward righteousness, to show my children how humans are supposed to behave, to solve problems and accept the responsibility when you mess up, to blame yourself instead of everyone else, to live free to take responsibility for everything that goes on in your life, to provide them a place, their place, and not just for my children, but my children's children. With a why like that, how could I possibly quit? Sarah and I often joke that we're not going to even get to enjoy the fruits of our labor. It'll be our grandkids that get to live an amazing life here. Ours is a life of vision and service to something greater than ourselves, and that is good enough. We ended up getting the septic tank hooked up to the RV before the RV overflowed, and we managed to get the leach field installed before the septic tank overflowed. With a lot of effort, everything worked out. Bad things are going to happen, and when they do, we will move forward. Progress is sometimes better measured by the year. 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, and in the moment you don't realize that you're making any progress at all. I'd like to say that the day of the floating septic tank was the worst thing to happen since we moved here, but honestly, it's nothing. At this point, if that happened, I wouldn't even think anything of it. It wouldn't faze me at all. Unfortunately, In the story I'm going to tell it to you, things are going to get a whole lot worse before they get better.